think there's a couple things to be worried about with handicaps. I don't love handicap for this reason, because now it's 8 of your best 20. I know a lot of golfers that can shoot a 78 8 times, and they can shoot in the 90s. So are they a 78 shooter? No. I think they should be an 85 shooter, and that's what they should be called. And I don't mean we're calling them that bad. I think for them, that would help them, right? Isn't that more real? 8 of your best 20. Now, there's golfers that are consistent. There's some that shoot 78 to 83. They're out there. Then the handicap's a good number for them. But most golfers are not like that.
Hi, this is John DeLille, golf coach at South Vermilion High School in Clinton, Indiana. We play at Matthews Park and Geneva Hills Golf Club. We golf smarter. You should too. This is Golf Smarter number 921.
Learn to close your club face properly for better ball flight with Erik Schjolberg.
This is Golf Smarter, sharing stories, tips, and insights from great golf minds to help you lower your score and raise your golf IQ. Here's your host, Fred Green.
Welcome back to the Golf Smarter podcast, Erik.
Fred, it's great being here. Thank you for having me on. It's always an honor and a blast to get to talk to you and catch up.
Well, it's a blast for me too. I really enjoy talking to you because usually when I have a conversation with somebody that we record, we'll chat for a while and discuss what we're going to talk about. You and I just let it rip. And like Josh Sanders like that too. We just can let it rip. We can go in any direction, and it's just fun.
Yeah, it's good. Yep.
So anyway, but one of the things that I want to bring up, and let's see how long we can make this last, or what directions we can go with it, is game improvement, right? This podcast is all about game improvement. It's not about the PGA Tour. But it's improvement for the amateur golfer. Now, we try to compare ourselves, which is ridiculous, try to compare ourselves to what the pros are doing. Mm-hmm. You know, we try to say, oh, I saw that shot on TV, I can do it. No, you can't. And, you know, these guys, they work 8 to 10 to 12 hours every single day on their golf game with a team of coaches. Mm-hmm. And we have YouTube, we have podcasts, right? Not everyone takes lessons, and not everyone practices. And going out to the driving range before your round to warm up is not practice, it's warm up. But are there stats, are there things that we can look at in our game that will enhance our development?
Yeah, Fred, I think there's a lot of different ways that you can look at it. I think number one, you have to establish as a golfer, what do you want to gain out of it, and what do you want out of it? If you're that guy who goes and plays every once in a while, and you, like you said, warm up, hit some balls first, your expectations should be, can I hit this golf ball? You know, if that's the guy who plays once, you know, every few months in a corporate, something like that. Your expectations should be very low. So I don't think, you know, we're not talking a ton about that guy. That guy could be happier with expectations set low. But let's talk about somebody who does want to get better. Then I think you have varying levels. So you have the pros, which is hard to compare to, okay? But I think you can go, one of the greatest things I think has been Arcos and the data that we've gained from them with their, I think they're going to be over 1 billion shots at some point here soon. Every time I hear Lou Steiner talk about the number that they're at, I'm like, well, it was just 500 million. Now it's 800 million. So I assume billions coming real soon, the data. But what I love is you can look at, you know, scratch 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 handicap. And then it's very simple to break down where you are, first off, as a handicap, and say, where do I want to get to? And yes, course conditions can be somewhat different over here. It makes things different, but it's just there's a certain yardage you hit the ball if you're a certain handicap in general. Okay, it's very hard to say that somebody who carries the ball at 295 yards is a 30 handicap. It's just they're not out there. That person is probably a very, very good golfer unless they're, you know, just out there, you know, for long drives or something like that. Because you look at the average male drives it. Please don't send me hate mail, people. 220 yards. Okay, that is the average male golfer. I think it's 218 actually. So, but I know everybody hits a 300. I hear all the time. But I'm like, I know my TrackMan launch monitor isn't wrong, but but everybody hits a 300. But so driving distance can be one category we can look at, but then I like to look at it like this. You have, if you want to break golf down really simple, you can look at driving distance, you can look at fairways hit, okay, and you can look at greens and regulation, and then you can look at putts. Those are three simple categories. If you just want to focus on those and say, where am I in those three? And you can look at those numbers and say, where do I need to get better? You know, if you're 42 putts, you cut down on your putts, right? You have to be the tour guys, or let's forget about tour guys. If you want to shoot below 80, and then you need to get about 9 greens around. That's just a basic fact. You better get 9 greens in regulation. Now somebody can shoot an 80 with 6. I'm sure you've done it, Fred. You've had a great day of chipping and putting. Okay, but just in general, you better think you're going to be 8 to 9, and you know the number goes up to get to low 70s, and those are the barriers you can look at. And I could even send you a link if you want later to some of those breakdowns to look at of what they are, to know this is what I have to get to be at a certain handicap if that's where I want to get to. So I guess to answer your question, it's very easy to look at data and figure out where am I at in those 3 categories, and if I want to get better, then I need to get better here. If I'm missing fairways and taking penalty strokes, I have to become a better driver somehow to get to the next level. Okay. So those are the numbers. Okay. That's not how we get better, but those are the numbers of what that needs to be done to reach the different level. And I think that's what it ought to be based on. If you're trying to break 100, or you're trying to make 90, or you can look at it as a handicap if you want, or trying to make 85, 80, and working down that way. If you're a golfer, I think that's the best way to break it down, if that is the plan or trajectory you want to look at. You don't go from 100 to 80. I mean, it's just
no.
You progress slowly down the path. It's just how it works. So I'd say that's the first step, and then the fun part is going to work on each of those areas that you need to. But it's the process. So one of the things I get to do, fortunately, is every student I bring back to my teaching bay, I have to drive by the driving range to drop one student off, and I pick up the next. So I typically will make a comment about what I'm seeing to them, so hoping that they'll learn. I'm never making fun of anybody. It's just an observation of what do I see. So simple observations I see at the driving range is hitting one ball, one after the other. The feet do not move at all. I call it raking. You keep your grip on and you just grab one ball and you like rake it in, right? And you swing again. Here's the funny thing though. If you hit 2 balls in a row, one you shank, one you hit perfect with your 7-iron, or whatever it is, your brain has no idea what happened different. You didn't do anything in between to say, body, this is the move I'm trying to make. This is what I'm trying to do. Now, you stand on that range with a 7-iron. Most of us, if we're athletic at all, are going to get into some kind of little groove, something where we start feeling a little better about it, right? And we may be able to start hitting that 7-iron a little better by the end of our 100 balls, because we probably got some those guys usually got a large bucket of balls. So they'll start probably feeling a little better about it after hitting that, but it relates 0 to the golf course. That will absolutely relate 0, because how often do you stand and hit the same club in a row on a golf course when you're playing? You don't ever,
happen.
do you?
Well,
I guess
hopefully not. No.
Yeah,
even if you have to go get another ball because you hit one OB or something, you are going to move your feet. But I think that's really a fascinating observation about people on driving range who don't move their feet. Right?
Yeah,
they just rake and swing and
stuck.
Rake and swing and rake and swing. Yeah.
And it's so different than it would be on the course. It's like, what I suggest for people is if you're working and you have something you're working on, you have to do that in between each swing. And number one, don't buy a large bucket of balls. Get the small bucket, step behind your ball, go through your routine, play golf while you're out there, go through everything you do your practice swing or whatever you would normally do, but have something you're working on in between so you can get some form of feedback. If you don't have any feedback, there's nothing you're learning. Feedback, I can't say it enough. You have to have feedback in golf, whether it's your video, whether it's something you're putting on the ground, whether you're putting something like the head cover in the way. If I hit the head cover, my path was wrong, or whatever it is. It's the only way you're going to learn. Otherwise, how do you know what you're doing? You don't. So just kind of a few things, I guess, that I notice and see and that I'll try to point out so that they don't fall into those traps. And I know everybody out there at the range thinks they're working on it and they're exercising though. And, I wish I could just go up there and say, stop, let's get better. And I think most would do it. I think most just don't know. I do think it's also harder to practice the way I would ask you to practice than it is to stand there and hit golf balls. It's I'd say kind of brainless hitting 7 irons in a row, possibly, right? Versus what if you had to step back and do, like I would prescribe like some kind of slow motion move or whatever it is, so you can really feel it. That takes work, right? And feedback, maybe a video to see, did I do it correct? So there's ways to do it that take less time than it would to hit your large bucket of balls and get much better. So ways to do it. Yeah.
Too many questions to ask, but we're not going to do it right now because we're going to take a time out and we'll be back right after this. It's so interesting because when people are on the driving range and they're just, rake and swing, I don't know if they're looking at the ball flight, if they're looking at, or feeling the contact. Are they just going for distance? Let's go back to the 7 iron, not your driver. And even if they know immediately once the ball leaves the club face, that the ball flight's going to be either what they want or what they're not hoping for. It still has to be analyzed. You got to look at that ball flight and say, what does that mean? Right?
Huge. I see this, and I don't know if you've seen this too. I'm sure you have been around golf. How many are hitting the next ball before the last ball lands?
Oh, I've done that. I know. Well, I know if I have a shot that was not what I intended, I'll go ahead and do it again. But
move on to the next one.
Yeah, but I probably don't step away and restart. I probably keep my feet locked in and just like scrape it up. So the moving of the feet, the repositioning, the stepping away, going through your whole shot routine. Is something that, it's like that makes a big difference.
It's less time, less expensive. You don't have to buy as many balls, and it's way more fruitful. I know the place I work, they charge like $30 for balls now. So it's like everything's getting crazy. So, I think you bring up some good points. I just feel like you follow those, do those right little things at the range, and the payoffs can, be absolutely huge. But you have to have some source. And I think you brought up the greatest point of all in golf that I work very hard with every student to try to understand. So if you go play golf or you're at the driving range and you hit a shot and it's, it starts left of your target and curves off to the right, what percent of people, I'm going to ask you, could analyze that shot as the 9 ball flight laws? What happened at impact? What percent would you guess? And I'll tell you what I think is the percent that could say, this is what happened. Let's just say with path and face, those two, only those two. This is what happened with my path and face on that golf shot. I know for a fact this is what happened.
15%? I mean, it's got to be a low number.
I think it's just way lower than that from the lessons I see. And because I see good golfers that don't know. Sure. Even good golfers that don't know, have no idea. So real simply, if you don't need a launch monitor to figure this out. Now, it may be good to be with a pro at first to do it so you can kind of calibrate and say this is what it is. But if you were in general, the ball is going to start pretty close, especially on the longer the clubs, to where your club face is pointed. You can say, 75, 85% probably on the driver. Sand wedge is it's not going to be as much, but you don't have to worry about it because the ball doesn't move that much off when you're with your sand wedge. So your typical 7 iron, just assume the ball started pretty darn close to where that face was pointed. Okay, so you saw your target was straight ahead. You saw that ball start off to the left of your target. So what do we know right now before anything? Your hips weren't open. No, that doesn't matter. We're not worried about your hips or your shoulders because that's what I hear at first. Well, what happened to that shot? Oh, my hips were. I don't care what happened with that right now. We have to analyze club face first, and then we work backwards to the body. Yeah. So club face.
I lifted my head.
Yeah, you lifted your head. Okay. So your club face had to be pointed left, right? And the only way for that ball to curve to the right would be with your club path further to the left. Now, how much that ball curved is how much your path was to the left. So the greater difference between your path and your face, is the more curvature that you have. Okay. Now, obviously, a driver is going to move more because it's in the air longer. But if you start the ball on your target line, like a lot of people who swing over the top will start on the target line and they swing way left. Okay. So it may start right on the target line for a second, then peels way off to the right. That tells you are swinging, your club path is way to the left. So you, golfer, have to figure out your club path, your club face was on the target line, right? But you have to figure out how to swing your path down that same line, meaning you're going to have to learn to close your club face a lot more too at the same time you're doing that. But it's a simple analysis if you think about it. If the ball starts off way to the right, which most people do, what happened? Your club face is wide open. Learn to crank that club face down. Get yourself a really strong grip when you look down at you. Most people I see have the weakest grips, like weaker than John Rahm's, okay? And you better see 3 to 4 knuckles, most golfers, okay? That way it's going to help the club face close on its own.
You're talking about your lead hand, right?
Lead hand, yeah. Sorry about that.
Okay. That's okay.
It's going to help the club face close on its own, and you'll be twisting the shaft more, and that gives you a chance. But what happens, and I've been fortunate to see this a couple of times. I saw athletic young golfers, juniors. They hit a shot, a good swing inside out. The ball went probably 20 yards to the right. And these are brand new golfers, okay? So within 3 to 4 shots, their path was probably 14 to the left, and then their face got more center now, or their face was even left, so it curved into the right. So they're happy now with their shot. But if somebody would have been there right at the right time and said, buddy, great swing path. Let me just show you how to close this club face. They would have been off to the races. But everybody relates. This is why it's so important. They always relate it to the club path, what the ball is doing when it starts. So if you know that it wasn't that, it's your club face, then you'll know that your big error in golfers is your club face mainly. Fix your club face, and you'll find life in golf will be much more fun.
And that's all done with the grip.
Well, there's basically a couple ways, I'd say 3 ways to close the club face. One is what most people do, unfortunately, is they have a real weak grip, they take it back, and they square it up right in front by throwing the club face, okay? The other way you can do it is by this real rotational move like this, which a lot of us were brought up to do, okay?
But it's so hard.
It's impossible. And like even the pros that talk about that have done it, they talk about 2,000 shots a day, and if you miss a day, it takes them 3 days to get that back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So tell me how our amateurs are going to time that out. You're not. You may stripe one every once in a while, but like you said, it's impossible. And the third way is you can be like the pros. You get a stronger grip. So the pros don't always have to have stronger grips. They've learned to do what's called twisting the handle. Okay. And if Fred can see my hands, but what I'm doing is I'm twisting. Okay. So I'm going from my lead wrist is extended here. So that cup. So by the time I get to the top of the swing, I have a choice. I can flatten it out. So what did I do? I closed the club face. And if I just hold that more flat on the way down, my club face is closed. The more I'm like this coming in with cup, guess what? The club face is wide, wide open. Okay. So the pros, what they typically do, say like John Rahm or whatever, he'll swing up and he's twisting the shaft. John Rahm has done a lot of it on the way up. That's why he's bowed. He's actually releasing on the way down to an extended position that way. But most golfers, let's say more that are more neutral, get to the top, and they're twisting the shaft like this, if you guys folks see my hands. So I go like this. It's like a motorcycle move. If you've ever ridden a motorcycle or anything that has handles that you turn for the throttle, you want to take your lead hand is taking the throttle off. Turn it the other way. Now, try to do that with a really strong grip. You'll see the club. If I have a really weak grip, look how I can barely turn my hand. Strong grip, look how much I can turn this thing over. That means I can take the club and whip it down. Okay. So most golfers need to fix their club face, and they'll find out golf will change forever for them. They work so hard in path and they work in everything. Fix your grip and then fix your club face and get your club face in a much stronger position on the way down. The number one checkpoint I'd say for all golfers is when you get to here, which is P6, where the club is sticking out, like right here, and your hands are here.
What do you mean by P6? Whoa. What's P6?
Okay, so we have,
gotcha.
You know, the positions in golf. So we have P1 address, P2. So let's say, I'll make it real some P4 is when we get to the top. Okay, is P4. So we have 2, 3, which is arm parallel. P4 is I'm at the top. P5 is we're getting back to arm parallel. P6 is club parallel to the ground before P7's impact. Okay, so P6 is club parallel to the ground on the way down. That club should be parallel to the ground. It should be a little bit behind your hands. And the angle of that club face, most golfers, see how this angle is? That'd be matching my back angle if I was hitting about like that. See that? Most golfers, their club face is like this, wide open. So when your face is wide open at P6, what do? You stand up and you throw it. It's the only way to hit it. That's why you see every golfer, most golfers early extend. They thrust their pelvis into the ball and they stand up because what is your body doing? It's helping you get that club face closed. Wow. But you're throwing your pelvis you're slowing things down. And what do? It helps you square it, but you're throwing it at the ball. That's why your arms are extended at the ball instead of having more of this look. But it's all everything I say there was all based on an open club face. It wasn't based on anything else. So don't roll that club face open on the way back. Have control of it. Have that thing down. Feel like it's shut as can be. And then learn to just do that. Because here's what happens. The antidote to the closed club face is, guess what? Your hips clearing out of the way like the professionals, like everybody wants to have, right? It's not an artificial clearing. It's your hips go, holy smokes, I better get out of the way or this ball is going a million miles left. What is the antidote to the open face? Your hips stopping for you so you can close the club face. So if you want to look like Rory, it's not good to the top of your swing and flip your hips out of the way because you're just spinning out. It does you no good. You close your club face, and after a little while, your body goes, you know what? I got to get out of the way or this thing's going way left. And that's the antidote to the left. And guess what? Then you start clearing out. But everything I said there is based on the club face.
Yep. And don't do what I do, which is tinker with it during your round. All right, we're going to take another time out. We'll be back right after this. You talked about the 9 different flight paths earlier. You mentioned it.
The Ballflight laws, yes.
Ballflight laws.
Yeah.
Go deeper. I'm fascinated.
Yeah, so they're really cool. It was something that the old ones were wrong because the PJ had said that the ball started closer to the path than the face. And when TrackMan came out, they said definitively no, that's wrong. It's more on the face. So we learned a lot about golf then. And, it's really interesting. People ask how I taught back then, what I told people. And you told some people some wrong stuff because you would have them swing more to the right, which would cause a bigger hook for somebody that would do it. But after a while, we all knew that something's not right because I'm telling this guy to swing way over there and the ball's hooking more. How come if I tell him to swing more to the left, this is working? So even though we were told this and didn't understand it, as coaches, if you did it long enough, you figured it out, even though you didn't have the data to prove it. So when TrackMan came out with that, telling us that the ball flew closer to where the face angle is, then we learned a lot. So if you draw a straight line towards your target path, and then you had one go, like you pushed it to the right, the other one you pulled it to the left. Okay, there's 3 of them. And then you would have basically branches out of each one of them. So out of the left, you would have that straight pull, right? And then you would have one that would be a pull hook as an option. And then you would have that pull fade, pull slice, whatever you want to call it. So there's 3 there. And then the same thing, the straight shot would have one that went dead straight. You would have one that started on the line and then drew, and then one that faded off of it. So you have 3 off each one of those. So off of each one of those, you can deduce what happened to any of your shots. And when you understand that, you can make the changes that you need. So if I look at a shot, a typical problem I'll have is I'll swing too far out to the right and hook it back in or leave a push out there. So I'll have a push draw or just push it straight out there. So if I push it out to the right, I know the ball started to the right, and let's say it doesn't curve. I know my club path and club face were you can say exactly the same, pretty much the same degree. Okay, so if the ball stayed straight, it doesn't matter if TrackMan says 4 degrees or 6. Like I got an idea about a little bit because I'm only a certain amount off to the right. I know that my path and face were exactly the same. And then so that's the one part. The other part is knowing if it curves to the right, your club path is inside of the face. If it curves the other way, your path is outside the face angle. So I think if you just see the chart once and understand those 3, then you can figure out any golf shot. And And the thing is, Fred, like without knowing those, how do you fix your golf game when you're playing? You can't, because you can't see your golf swing. And and for you to hit a shot that most people, for you, a pull, cut, or something in there, you don't know for sure that what happened on that shot. So it's like when you understand the ball flight laws, then you can go look at a shot and go, I know what happened with my path and face. And our bodies are really good at organizing the other stuff around that. I mean, you got to build a good foundation, somewhat, get a good grip. I tell people with golf, if you build a foundation of a good posture, good stance, your alignment can be different. It's matchups for alignment, but get a good golf grip, understand a good posture, and then understand those ball flight laws. Then you'll understand what path you need to make this work. I use ropes to teach people to swing. Every time I put a rope in somebody's hand that has a 12-degree path to the left, way over the top, right? They think, oh, I can't fix this. I put a rope and I stand to the right. I'll stand to the left at first. I go swing to me. They do it real easy. And I'll walk over about 20 feet to the right and say, swing to me. They go and swing right out to me. Like, you did it in one swing. You swung out to the right. So everybody can pick path. There's nobody that is like, I can't do this, but they don't understand the relationship between the two. And when you understand that relationship, it's fixable. I'm not trying to claim golf is easy, but golf is very, very hard when you don't have that basis as a framework. And I think if everybody had that basis, golfers would be much, much better. But most golfers are just playing in the blind, unfortunately, because of that.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
and trying to feel it while you're doing it is also really, that's why video is so great. And I've been using the Arcos. You talked about Arcos earlier. I've been using the Arcos, and it says that my average drive is 233. Okay, so a little bit above normal, right? But sometimes I'll have a 285 drive, right? And it's like, but then also there'll be times I'll have a 175 drive. That's why I'm at 233.
Yeah. So you're after a round, you fix it, but you're able to go through with Arcos, which I love. Now you're able to look at it and say, this is why. Are you set against, because I have an idea probably where you are as a handicap. Are you set against a scratch or a 5, or what do you set yours against
10,
to look at?
10. So
your goal is to be a 10 and you're a what about?
9.6.
Okay, so you're looking at where you are in that variance, because I know you can also set it against like a scratch and say, okay, I was 4 behind that. Yeah.
I don't want to do that. I want to play like I'm playing. I want to play consistent to where I am right now. And if I get improvement out of it, that's great. But I'm not trying to be something I'm not. And the fact that I'm just around a 10 right now is still amazing to me.
Well, I don't know what percent of the nation. I can't remember what 10 is. It's top. I can't remember. I mean, you're in the top 15%, maybe. I think it's a big number.
Somebody asked me recently, "Are you a good golfer?" And I said, "I'm not good, but I'm not bad."
Yeah, I think it's very respectable. I mean, it's I feel like, but you have a good knowledge. You also do other things too. I mean, we don't know what Fred would be if he had. I think you always have to factor in your 10 handicap with you don't practice a ton, you don't play a ton. What would you be if you had 5 days on the course a week?
Tired.
Tired
and achy. Dude, I'm 68 years old. I'd be in a lot of pain.
I mean, it's hard to think that, but because you don't look it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Listen to our sponsors, you'll know why.
You do, but you do it, right? Yeah, exactly, 100%. It does. You got to work on it, but I think that's the same as golf. But I think it's how you do it is fine. Setting against 10, so you go have a round and you can look at it when you didn't play as well and say, "Well, I was +3 in my putting or whatever." You know where you were off, and probably. I don't know yet do you see trends when you're going the wrong way? Possibly yet to say, oh, my putting's going a little, or this is going a little awkward. It's another thing people have to have is an Arcos or some kind of something to tell them, because
The feedback.
We need to know where
getting
we're
that
at.
feedback. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
the thing that's so interesting is the first thing I'll look at is what's my total number of putts. And, I know that if I can keep it into the 29 to 31, 32 range of putts in a round, I'll have a decent score. But then if I have a high score, I'm like, oh, well, you had 39 putts today. You had 40 putts today, and you had 4 3-putts. And okay, so that means the 4 3-putts also could mean that I'm not picking the right club on my approach shot because I'm leaving myself a 60-foot putt on my first putt. And that's
which is beautiful.
a 60-foot putt is like, okay, that's going to be a 3-putt perhaps.
It could be, I think over 30, I think when you look tour average, they go, once it's over 32 feet, that's when they creep into a possible 3-putt. So at 60 foot, we have a pretty good chance.
Yeah.
Of possibly 3-putting that. So,
what did you say, 32?
Yeah, so I think once it goes over 32, their putts go to 30, they go to 2.01 at 32 feet or 33 feet is when they finally break over a 2.01. And they had at 32 or 33 feet.
My last couple of rounds, I actually started looking at what's the length of my first putt.
That's one of the number of things you can do. The first
that
putt
helps
is
on the
huge
approach.
to write down.
Right, because now it's telling me if I'm using the right clubs on my approach shots.
Massive. It gives you this massive new level, doesn't it, than just GIRs or how many putts. That number is absolutely crucial to having. It makes a world of difference. Huge. So that's good. That's good you're getting that data.
Okay, we talked about earlier about comparing ourselves to how pros improve versus how we improve. When we come back after this break, let's talk about how a 15 handicap versus a 3 handicap. Because 3 handicap is not someone who's going to be making the tour anytime soon, no matter how good they think they are. So let's find out what's happening on Golf Smarter Mulligans this week, and then we'll be back right after this. This week on Golf Smarter Mulligans is the second conversation with legendary coach Jim Hardy just after he published his book, Solid Contact. Recently I heard someone say, golf's a simple game that's really hard. Well, in this hour-long episode with Jim, he puts it this way.
Golf is a 10,000 different pieces, all some way glued together. And the ball flight's a mystery, and the impact's a mystery, and our swing's a mystery. We've got timing, tempo, rhythm, and balance. We've got a strong grip, a weak grip. You bend over, you stand up, you put the ball forward, you put the ball back, you make a long backswing, a short backswing, you take it straight back, you take it to the inside, you cock your wrist, you're across the line, you're laid off. I could go on for hours, but that's the way people look at golf. They look at golf as though we've got all the colors of the rainbow going on, plus all the sounds of an orchestra going on, and it's just too complicated.
That's episode 237 of Golf Smarter Mulligans, the second of 2 episodes with Jim Hardy after the release of his book, Solid Contact. Originally published as a members-only episode in April of 2012, this is the first time this episode has ever been shared publicly, and it's a good one. So if Golf Smarter is one of your favorite golf podcasts, then don't miss the chance to get 2 episodes each week. Golf Smarter on Tuesdays and Golf Smarter Mulligans, episodes from our archives that revisit the best of Golf Smarter that cannot be found on any podcast platform anymore. They're both available for free from wherever you're listening right now. So golfers who would love to get to a low index, and I'm not even going to call it scratch because that's just to be a scratch golfer, your consistency has to be on such a high level, and it doesn't even come close to what the pros do, because even the best player at your local course, if you're a country club and they're playing the same course over and over and over again, or you're on the men's club, or you just you like to compete locally, getting to a low index versus scratch is a tremendous amount of work. Getting 15 to a 10 takes work. I mean, it all takes work. It's not a game of perfection, and it's not a game of consistent progress. And anyone thinks they can get better every time out is fooling themselves.
Correct. I think that's a good point. I think, so we have so much data now to know the difference. As I think I said earlier, to look at if you're a 15, you want to become a 5, which a lot of people I see say that they want to attain a certain level. I'm like, that's great. So let's sit down and look at what is the difference between you and them. And that doesn't mean I'm showing them a swing of what a 5 has, because I think there's a couple things to be wary about with handicaps is that you can look at golf. I don't love handicap for this reason, because it's 8 of your best 20. Okay. So I know a lot of golfers that can shoot a 78 8 times and they can shoot in the 90s. So are they a 78 shooter? No. I think they should be an 85 shooter, and that's what they should be called. And I don't mean we're calling them that bad. I think for them, that would help them, right? Isn't that more real? Like 8 of your best 20. Now there's golfers that are consistent. There's some that shoot 78 to 83. They're out there. And then then the handicap's a good number for them. But most golfers are not like that.
Oh, no. I mean, like I got to a point recently where over my last 20 rounds was a 10 stroke, 76 to 86, where it was my, the range that I had. Yeah. That is incredibly consistent for me. I couldn't believe it's like, wow, over 20 rounds. I know that a handicap is there for gambling purposes, but a handicap shows your potential. It doesn't show what your average score is. And I think that for the gambling purposes, you got to go, you know what? I shoot an 83. Okay, let's work from that, not a 9 handicap.
You should have your last 20 if you entered them. Average them. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's, if you're honest with your score, just average it, and then that's
it'll
who
tell you.
Are
it
as
says
a golfer.
Your last. It'll show you on the GIN USGA GIN. It says here's your last 20 rounds, your high score, your low score, and the average score of those 20. Use that.
You're the average.
Use the index. And then you know what else? What? And then move up to the tees. Stop moving back.
Don't say that.
Stop. No, man.
You heard everybody's you got men have egos.
Drop the ego. Oh, I hate this. Okay, you know what? If you want to play the back tees, you're going to get in less trouble because it's designed for your skill level, and that's why they put the bunkers where they do in the water where they do. If you want to not get to the bunkers, move back. Okay, fine.
Yeah, fine.
But if you want to have more fun playing golf, play it forward, man. Just swallow.
What distance do you play your course at?
I don't know.
About 60?
Honestly, I never look at the distance. I look at the slope. I look at the slope.
Well, okay, so you do a better job that way. I think it's I don't know. I have not run into this yet. So I try not to judge people yet because I hope I'm not one. I usually am not ego driven with so many things. So I don't, like when I go play golf with my wife a lot, I'll play the reds with her, but I don't whip a driver out ever. Like I'll hit an iron off the tee and have fun because I don't want to go back and forth to tee boxes. And I think it's fun for me and her just tee off the same tee box. We're more together instead of apart. So I hope that is a thing for me, saying I'll be able to do it, but move up. I don't think I'll have that ego issue. I don't know why men do, because I don't think people look down on anybody for it. And I feel sorry for those guys there. When you hit a 3-wood or a hybrid every time in the second shot, and I teach those guys, I'm like, isn't that get tiring and old? And they're like, well, yeah, but I'm not going up to those tees.
Well, you know what? That's an interesting point, is that, no one's going to look down on you for moving forward, but boy, are they going to have judgments if you're playing from the back tees and you don't belong there.
Oh,
that's
you're
where
right.
That's where the judgments are.
Yeah. And
it's like, dude, you should not be playing the back tees. You should not do that.
Yeah, it's interesting, but people equate it to the other way, which is really interesting. So, yeah, I hope I don't have that issue, and hopefully people are getting better. I just think, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's the ladies' tee that it got called, and I love how they try to change it.
Call them the forward tees. Don't call them the lady tees. That's disgusting.
I know, and I don't know if that. I think my point is, by saying that for so many years, that got in men's minds that they can't move forward. But I don't know. They have tee boxes that are a part of. I just know I would never want to hit a 3-wood out of the fairway. I don't like hitting it now on par fives. I don't love hitting 3-woods. Like I'd like to have an iron in my hand. So if I wouldn't do it all day long. So I'm not going to play a tee box where I have to hit 3-woods on 14 of the holes to get hopefully to the green. I mean, on my second shot and probably end up short. So I'll move up. I promise.
So wait. You don't use driver? You lost me on that. What?
No, I don't love even hitting 3-woods on par fives from, if I play back tees. Like I like hitting irons. I would hate to have to do it 14 times in a row, have to hit a 3-wood because I'm short, like a lot of people have to, so it's like, I like it. I'd rather play a tee box where I have an 8-iron in.
Yeah.
It's more fun.
Yeah,
it's more fun.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole idea of play it forward was play like the pros do, it's like, but what do? They'll hit driver or 3-wood and then a wedge or a 9-iron or an 8-iron.
And that's the
and
good
what
way
are we
to think
doing?
about
We're
it.
hitting driver and then a hybrid.
Yeah.
It's like,
I think a good way to think about it is most people, if they watch golf, look at the clubs they use on their second and find the tee box that fits that. Right? I mean, it's like if they're hitting driver 9-irons, drivers wedges, drivers 7-iron, then find tee boxes that allow you to hit driver 7-iron and hit the green. That'll be fun. It'll be much more fun.
Much more fun.
Yeah. So getting back to your point on what somebody needs to do to get to, everybody's going to have a little different path to go from 20 to 15, 15 to 10, 10 to 5 handicap, 5 and down. If we're using handicap as just the general, Arcos uses that a lot because it makes it easier to look at numbers, but you're going to find out when you grab those numbers what you need work on. Okay. And typically people aren't as good as if I had a prescription for somebody that just want to score better, it's going to be within 100 yards. Okay. You're going to get your 100-yard game better, but that doesn't mean that's the prescription for everybody. You need to get usually your whole game better. But if it's like, Eric, I have 1 month, I got to get as good as I can in a month. I'm like, okay, we're getting really good short game here. That's the low hanging fruit, right? With everything.
Yep.
But if you have to improve your whole game, you need those metrics to say, I'm only hitting 5 greens per round. If I want to shoot an 80, I have to get to 8 to 9 greens. You do have to get there on average, right? So that's a good metric right there. Your driving distance probably can't be from a back tee 220 and do that. You're not going to hit 3-woods in and get down to a 5 handicap. You better have a lot of irons in your hands if you want to go down to a 5 handicap. So if your distance doesn't match those tees, you better get up to the right tee that'll allow you to hit the right irons in. But it's a pretty simple formula when you look at it of what you need to get better at to reach whatever handicap you want when we have the data in front of us. So if you go get a lesson, show up to your lesson and have some stats if you play and say, this is what I get. This is typically where I am. I want to get here. And then you can kind of build a plan off that and what you need to do based on whatever the golfer does. So it doesn't have to be, I think golf gets really complicated, but it doesn't have to be as complicated, I think, as it is, especially with all the data we have today should make it much easier, not harder to get to an answer of what we need to do to get better. And it's typically, you can break it down, like I said, greens and regulation. You can look at how many putts and like green putts, fairways hit, to get your fairways hit up. So somebody say, well, I always get kickback from somebody say, well, I hit 12 fairways. I'm like, okay, you probably drive at 180 too, right? That's the only way somebody's hitting that many fairways. They aren't hitting it far, right? So then they run into that. Everybody does something different, and you always get comments from somebody, well, my foursome, nobody does that. I'm like, well, this is Arcos is 900 million shots, not your foursome. So remember that. It's a general look at things that you can base some numbers off that are pretty good. You know what I mean? So it's a general idea, a way to break it down. But I think going back, if you want to become a better golfer and you want to get down, go back to a lot to what we talked about of learning your face, angle, and ball flight, those ball flight laws. Learn to close your darn club face so you can get a more piercing shot that comes off lower with more spin. You'll quit hitting behind it, no more tops. You'll get spin and you'll hit the greens. It won't roll anymore, but that's all having a nice closed club face.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. And you're still teaching at?
I teach up at McCormick Ranch, back of the range. I got a teaching bay there, and I teach online
Scottsdale,
as well.
Arizona, right?
Scottsdale, Arizona, yeah. So you can find me at ejsgolf.com, and that's where basically all my stuff is. And I think you see me on some social media stuff. Start doing a little more. I'm doing more YouTube stuff because I like long format where I can talk like I did here and get more in depth. I just feel like it's hard in minute to 3 minutes to get out what you want to talk about and help people,
Absolutely.
Which is the whole goal.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, it's great to talk to you again. As we started out saying, let's see where it goes. It went. And it was a lot of information and a lot of helpful information and insights. Yeah. And as always, Erik, it's a blast to talk to you. Thank you, man.
Brad, loved it. Love talking to you, and hopefully make golfers better today.
Man, I just loved hearing from Golf Smarter Ambassador John DeLille, the golf coach from South Vermillion High School in Clinton, Indiana. As he said in the opening, we golf smarter, you should too. John chose to receive Tony Manzoni's video of the Lost Fundamental, which I'm sure he's going to use for himself and for his students. Now, I'd love to tell you that there are tremendous benefits to being a Golf Smarter ambassador, but most platforms that offer you special incentives come with a cost and a commitment. Not here. The first benefit of being one of our ambassadors is just peace of mind. Sharing what you've learned with your podcast listening golf buddies is the seed that helps us grow our audience. And the benefit comes when you discuss insights and advice you've received from our latest episode while you're on the course. The other benefit is a free gift of your choice just for doing what John did at the beginning of the episode, and that's telling us where you're from and where you play. Choices include Tony Manzoni's video, a glove and glove storage compartment from redroostergolf.com, and a box of Odin X1 balls with the Golf Smarter logo. All you need to do to get your free gift is write directly to me, and I'll send you simple instructions on how to record an episode opening that takes less than 1 minute. Check out today's show notes to find links about each gift you have to choose from. And to see and hear the most compelling short nuggets of our podcast interviews, now for both Golf Smarter and Golf Smarter Mulligans, please follow us on social at Golf Smarter on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and X for our ongoing posts of videos and articles that come out 5 times each week. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions for upcoming episodes, or want to join our list of Golf Smarter ambassadors who've received that free gift, write to golfsmarterpodcast@gmail.com or just click on the Hey Fred button when you visit golfsmarter.com.